Rockstar has a long history of nerfing or otherwise changing missions or heists, both payout and the way they're played. And while I do understand why they do it, sometimes it is a bit disappointing, you know. When you think of a nerfed mission, of course, Perico comes to mind first, because that one suffered the most nerfs out of every heist. But look back a bit, and you see that it's by far not the only thing they changed. Day 1 players will of course remember Rooftop Rumble, a mission that was so broken, Rockstar actually took out the replay mission option, along with reworking the whole mission. You used to be able to get like $25,000 every minute, but since this is Rockstar, they didn't like that, and eventually, after a few changes were made, if you did the old strat by blowing up the briefcase, the mission would fail and you get paid jack shit. Then when finally, in 2015, after being delayed for so long, heists were released, you were able to take the Kuruma in the Pacific Standard finale for an easy escape. But likewise, Rockstar thought that this was too easy and thus, on January 26, 2017, made it so you cannot enter apartments during this heist anymore. The Doomsday Heists were introduced almost a year after this, but those were never majorly nerfed, if at all. After that, Casino Heist was introduced, which got a very minor nerf in February of 2020, where it would sometimes block the easy route out and added a few guards on the horse track. Overall, it wasn't anything too major. But then, Cayo came along, and oh boy, was it in for some changes in all the years following that. In the first 2 months, it remained unchanged, and people would do nothing else but this heist. Then in the 1.5 years after that, a few minor changes came along, such as an extra camera being added during the scope out, and not being able to melee or headshot the heavy gunner anymore, but this was nothing major. That was until the July 2022 update, called the Criminal Enterprises, where every heist would get a 48-minute cooldown for the host. Cayo, however, if done solo, would have a massive 144-minute cooldown, 3 times as long as the other ones, unless you played it with multiple people, in which case it had the now new standard of 48-minute cooldown. Of course, many people weren't happy with it, but just moved on. But a few months after that, when the Drug Wars DLC came out, they changed Perico again, where guards could now spot dead bodies of other guards. This meant that you couldn't just ludicrously kill anyone wherever you please like before, but you had to strategically think of new routes now. Many people were of course praying that was the end of it. But not even a year later, it got the biggest nerf that made the other two pale in comparison. In September 2023, 3 out of 6 primaries, which also happened to be the most common ones, had their value reduced by 30%, while every secondary had its value reduced by 10%, except gold, which was unchanged. They also made coke spawn less often. The office safe also now could contain as little as $20,000, but the final nail in the coffin was that when they also made the setup cost $100,000 instead of the previous $25,000. At one point, payphone hits were reduced from 85,000 to 45,000, but a bit after that they made the cooldown just 10 minutes instead of 30, which is fine. And that was all I could remember from memory, but I sure hope that in GTA 6 they will not follow this pattern or trend by giving us fake hype for DLCs and then nerfing them into the ground after that. I also won't be surprised if they nerf even more stuff before 6 launches, such as Clock and Bell or Dr. Dre's contract. But I guess we'll see about that.